Imagine waking up next to your spouse, sunlight slicing through the blinds, and suddenly you realize you no longer want to touch them. The familiar skin feels almost forbidden. How did you get here? Where did the heat go? The person beside you is calm, predictable, maybe even nurturing. They remind you of safety, of home, of all things motherly. But do they remind you of lust? Of desire? Be honest. This is a hidden war zone in modern relationships. The battlefield is not your bedroom floor, it's in your mind. It's the silent battle between your longing to be cared for and your hunger to be devoured. You want to be both seen and consumed. But somewhere, the lines blurred. She became your caretaker. Or you became hers. You started speaking to each other in tones reserved for children. Dinners became lectures, kisses became routines. When was the last time a look from her turned you to liquid? When was the last time his touch made you forget your own name? Most couples will never admit this. Most will fend off the silence by talking about chores, schedules, taxes. But you know. Deep down, you know something is broken. Your marriage or your mind, at this point they're the same. You're suffocating in predictability. You've confused love with habit, intimacy with obligation. You have committed adultery of the mind, even if not of the flesh. You cheated on your desire, with your comfort. This story is not rare. In fact, it's everywhere. But it's hidden under mountains of polite conversation. It's buried under habits, psychology, quiet resentment. This is the story of how your lover became your mother. This is how your passion turned into parental care. And this is how you lost the heat. You notice the signs not in grand betrayals, but in small, daily habits. She reminds you to eat, nags you about your health, tells you to drive safely. He picks up after you, double-checks your plans, scolds you gently for losing your keys. It's all so loving. Isn't love supposed to feel like this? No. Not if you want to crave someone. What you feel is security, yes. Comfort, yes. But tension fades. Desire dissolves. You start thinking of your partner as a role, not a person. You speak in caretaker language. Did you remember your lunch? Did you sleep well? Your pillow talk becomes checklists, straight from a mother's mouth. Sex becomes a scheduled event, managed like a doctor's appointment. Even the way you fight changes. The words are no longer sharp, they're just tired. You are not seducing or being seduced. You are managing. Psychology calls this role confusion. Carl Jung labeled it archetype contamination, the mother and lover archetypes fused in the wrong places. Your brain searches for attraction, but finds only responsibilities and routines. Your body knows the difference. Your instincts withdraw. In the beginning, you touched for pleasure. Now you touch out of duty. Attraction shrivels under the microscope of constant management. You begin to resent what you should cherish. And you hate yourself for resenting it. The confusion grows. Is this what marriage is? Is this how all relationships age and curdle? You Google terms you never thought you would: emotional cheating, intimacy issues, feeling smothered by a spouse. You start noticing the way others look at you, or don't. Deep down, you crave something forbidden, to be seen as dangerous, not fragile. Desired, not managed. Understood, not handled. But you are stuck. Caught in the twisted web of roles. Too scared to ask, too polite to break the rules. Habits become your jailers. You convince yourself that routines are the price of adulthood, of marriage, of stability. You reason, it's normal. Every couple goes through this. But is it normal to stare at the ceiling wondering why you're untouched? Is it normal to remember a stranger's gaze more vividly than last night's dinner with your spouse? You read psychology blogs late at night. You scroll through relationship forums. You see the word divorce blinking at you like a forbidden fruit. But you're not there yet, are you? You can't tell. Sometimes you fantasize about cheating, not for the act, not for the pleasure, but for the feeling of being chosen again. You want the rush of uncertainty. You want to be desired by someone who doesn't already know you. You want to be a lover, not a child. Or a parent. You notice friends doing the same dance. Some have already split. Some sleep in separate beds. Some cheat emotionally, texting exes, old flames, co-workers. Not physical infidelity, but something more subtle and, perhaps, more lethal, the secret longing for someone who treats them as an adult. Not a son. Not a daughter. It's a quiet epidemic, hidden by pretty family photos and joint calendars. You watch couples pretending, repeating their annual rituals, holding hands for their children's sake. They avoid eye contact, but never forget the dentist appointments. Their lives are sanitized, but their desires are feral and hungry. You wonder, can I undo this? Maybe you already know the answer. But you're afraid to say it out loud. You start to fight, but not about what matters. The real fight is unspoken. Which role are you playing tonight, mother or lover? Spouse or child? Every argument grows from this twisted root. You bicker about dirty dishes, about bills, about whose turn it is to walk the dog, but underneath, you're screaming, see me. Touch me. Stop managing me. Want me. The distance grows in inches, not miles. Silence at the dinner table. Eyes glued to screens in bed. Too tired. Too busy. Not tonight. You tell yourself, it's just a phase. But the truth is more ruthless. This is the new pattern. It only deepens with time and repetition. You start to feel small, almost invisible. You start to envy strangers and those couples who still touch and laugh too loudly in cafes. You try to fix what's broken with what broke it: more management, more routines. You book therapy sessions, buy relationship books, plan date nights with military precision. None of it works, because passion withers under obligation. You can't schedule attraction. You can't parent your spouse and expect them to rip your clothes off. Street philosophy whispers, you get what you tolerate. You've tolerated roles at war with each other. Are you brave enough to shatter them? Or will you watch your marriage dissolve silently, one polite reminder at a time? Is this what trust was supposed to look like? Is this understanding, or just exhaustion? You wonder if anyone else feels this alone while sharing a bed. The truth wakes you up on a random Tuesday. It's not a revelation, more like a slow ache. You realize nobody will fix it for you. Not your spouse, not your therapist, not your parents. The only way out is through the raw honesty you've avoided, the messy conversations you haven't had. Psychology says you need to reclaim your polarity, masculine, feminine, magnetic opposites. But your habits fight you, demanding safety, not chemistry. You start to see the contours of your own fear. The fear of rejection. The fear of admitting you want more. The fear that maybe you are no longer wanted. It's bitter, humiliating, heart-stopping. But it's real. And real is liberation. Maybe for the first time, you begin to speak, not as a manager, not as a caretaker, but as a lover. You say what you want, not just what needs to be done. You confess your cravings, your doubts, your secret resentment. Maybe your spouse looks at you, startled, unsure. Maybe they have their own script to tear up. You realize that confidence in relationships isn't bravado or bluster, it's the courage to burn the old roles and step naked into the unknown. Communication becomes more than courtesy. It's a weapon. It's a bridge. It's a dare. You are not anyone's mother. You are not anyone's child. You want to be touched, not just helped. You want to be seen, not just supported. You want a lover, not a roommate. And for once, you are ready to risk it all. Awareness is a jagged gift. It exposes the quiet violence behind habits. You see now how every "did you eat" can morph into "are you helpless, and maybe you are," when it comes to love. You watch your confidence evaporate under the fluorescent light of responsibility. The twisted roles suffocate your erotic instincts. You don't want to be rescued, and you don't want to rescue. But for too long, you played along. Freud would say, you are haunted by your childhood landscapes. The archetypes you inherited, mother, son, father, daughter, bleed into your marriage. Familiarity brings safety, but also confusion. You start to notice how quickly you revert to a child's logic during disagreements. How fast your partner's voice becomes parental instead of passionate. Was the attraction ever real? Did you ever truly see each other? Or just were the masks handed to you by family, by society, by earliest memory? You remember a time when her touch undid you. When his voice drew you across a room against your own logic. Now you measure each gesture, afraid it will be misunderstood, for care instead of desire, for management instead of intimacy. You hunger for a wild, unplanned glance, but settle for scheduled pecks and familiar chores. You have a decision. Repeat the habits that numb you, or break the cycle knowing it will hurt. The paradox: the more you try to parent your spouse, the more you kill the lover inside them. And in doing so, you lose yourself. You don't talk about cheating. But the thoughts creep in. Adultery isn't always an affair. Sometimes it's an escape in fantasy, in digital spaces, in that soft moment when you imagine a different kind of touch. You search for validation outside your marriage because inside, you feel managed, not marveled at. You yearn for attention not colored by familiarity. You flirt with emotional cheating, a shared secret, a knowing look, a message sent too late at night. The psychologists warn, these cracks grow into chasms if left unspoken. You realize, cheating is less about sex, more about being seen, about reclaiming your identity outside your spouse's expectations. You want your partner to choose you, again and again, not out of habit, but out of hunger. Marriage, at its most vulnerable, is a game of mirrors. Does your spouse reflect your best self, or only the version they are comfortable managing? Attraction depends on polarity, opposing energies, like magnets. When you become partners in administration, the current dies. When you act as each other's psychological parent, the sexual charge evaporates. Is it betrayal to want passion over peace? Or to demand more than the mechanics of daily survival? Or is it simply the honesty that keeps relationships alive past the death of routine? Emotions swirl and knot inside you. Frustration curdles into resentment, but underneath beats a wild hope, maybe this can change. The pain is personal and brutal. You have felt the sting of rejection in your own kitchen, pile up like dirty dishes. The ache of not being chosen gnaws at you in your own bed. You try to talk about it, but the words come out wrong, too cold, too needy, too sharp. You end up apologizing for your needs. Habit tells you to shrink. To accept what you get. But confidence is rebellion. You realize you have spent years reducing your emotions to avoid rocking the boat. Every time you comply, you betray a piece of your true self. Psychology whispers, attraction depends on difference, not on sameness. The couple that merges into one loses the spark of friction. You want friction, not fusion. You want contrast, not compliance. Your journey to liberation starts with a risk. Speak your truth. Name what you miss. Not as an accusation, but as a declaration. There will be tears, of pain, of recognition, of fear. But discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. The roles that ruin intimacy only lose power when you refuse the script. The world will tempt you to settle. Divorce is everywhere, but so are couples who have given up without leaving. They stay, but they do not touch. They share a life, but not a love affair. Do not become another ghost in your own marriage. Understand this, there is no virtue in endurance if it means dying inside. Rebuilding intimacy is risky, chaotic, exposing. You will make mistakes. You will misread each other, bruise each other. But anything is better than emotional silence. You need to unlearn the caretaking patterns and practice the art of seeing your partner as a separate, sovereign person, not as a dependent. Attract them. Pursue them. Let the polarity return. Freud knew, our unspoken desires shape the dance more than our conscious vows. You mustn't judge your urges, study them. Share them. Create a new ritual, one where you touch because you want to, not because the calendar says it's time. Change happens in small, deliberate ruptures of routine. Trust is not just reliability. Trust is daring to reveal your deepest needs and believing your partner can handle the truth. Demand nothing less. You remember your first kiss, its danger, its promise. That was real. It can be real again, but only if you dare to disrupt the roles choking your marriage. Start by saying no to being parented. Say yes to being pursued, to being admired. Show up as someone who isn't asking for permission or forgiveness. Enter the unknown. Let things be awkward. Let desire be wild and imperfect. Communication is more than words, it's a way to break the trance of habit. Don't wait for permission to ask for what you want. Let your spouse see your hunger, your fear, your longing. Tear down the therapist's language and speak in the raw, outlaw tongue of seduction and truth. Attraction is electric, not administrative. Be playfully unpredictable. Let trust be an adventure, not surveillance. The journey back to passion demands ruthless honesty and creative rebellion. This is how you resurrect intimacy. Now you see how quickly routine turns desire into duty. The more you operate as caretakers, the more invisible you become as lovers. You morph into a shadow parent, robbing each other of anticipation, unpredictability, the lifeblood of attraction. When everything is explained, assigned, and managed, there's no room for mystery. Without mystery, there is no magnetism. You sense it in your bones, familiarity that once felt like safety now feels like suffocation. You crave to be less known, more discovered. To be seen as complex, still unfolding. The lover's gaze is different, it examines, it questions, it finds newness in the known. The mother or father's gaze does not, it assumes, it explains, it protects, it forgets the pulse of surprise. You start to confront the fear, what if you are no longer desirable? What if you have become only useful? Attraction is threatened by overexposure. When every flaw is catalogued, when every anxiety is managed, you lose the intrigue that powers sexuality. Ask yourself, when did you last genuinely want to impress your spouse? When did you last see them in a new light, unpredictable and a little bit dangerous? Your habits keep you safe, yes, but at the cost of magic. You are tired of being safe. It's time to risk the unpredictable, the unplanned. Time to let the mystery live again. Courage is built in confession. You start speaking aloud the things you stored in secret. I want to be wanted, not managed. I want you to touch me for pleasure, not reassurance. These words hang heavy, electric, between you and your partner. The first confessions draw resistance, a flash of hurt, maybe even anger. But the danger is necessary. Intimacy must be fought for, not simply maintained. Your secrets become the seeds of renewal. You notice how honesty disrupts old communication patterns. The urge to apologize for your needs dies slowly. When you speak plainly, you discover how much you've been editing yourself, censoring your desires to keep the peace. This self-sacrifice seemed noble, but in reality, it was corrosive. You buried your hunger so deep, even you forgot where it lived. You realize, the best communication is not always kind. Sometimes, it is ruthless, demanding, revolutionary. That is the source of real confidence, the willingness to be misunderstood as you become honest, the bravery to weather the storm that will follow every truth you speak. You refuse to return to the language of parent and child. You choose lover's language now. You choose chaos over quiet resentment. Your body remembers what your mind tried to forget. The heat that once existed between you did not die, it was trapped, caged by overfunctioning and self-denial. As you break the old roles, you give your body new permission. Every touch feels dangerous again. Every glance is possibility, not expectation. You explore the unknown edge of each other, moving past the choreography of duty. There is fear, of course. After so many years, you wonder if passion is a relic, something you can only chase with strangers or in dreams. But as you risk awkwardness, you learn new truth: passion is not found, it is made. It is built in the uncomfortable, in the honest, in the moments where you touch with intention instead of routine. Habits are persistent. You will be tempted to slide back into the old roles. You will want the comfort of caretaking, of appeasing, of managing. It will feel safer to return to the patterns that dulled you. But you are no longer satisfied by safety. You want power. You want the illicit thrill of being desired in your own home, on your own terms. You reach for it with every word, every sigh, every look that says, "See me again." Your marriage is being rebuilt, not by grand gestures, but by the daily refusal to play your old part. Each day you decide, I will not parent my partner. I will not ask to be parented. You notice the small victories, the charged look across a crowded room, the argument that ends in laughter, the spontaneous touch that needs no explanation. These are the new rituals. You learn that trust is deepened, not diminished, by risk. The old idea that peace is the absence of conflict dies in you. Real trust is built in the aftermath of honesty, in the courage to admit what you want and the resilience to hear what they want in return. Your confidence grows because you are no longer hiding, no longer pretending indifference. There will be days you fall back, days your wounds ache, days you want the easy comfort of routine. These are the days to go further, to let communication be a forge for something hotter, stranger, more authentic. Trust is not the absence of secrets, it's the willingness to bring your secrets into the open. Your relationship becomes an experiment, a laboratory for desire and fear and growth. Divorce, you understand now, is not always a legal process. Sometimes it is a slow drifting, a silent, psychic uncoupling born from years of role confusion. Spouses become strangers not because they fight, but because they do not dare to see or show who they truly are. You refuse this fate. You will not be another couple who fell out of love by accident, lulled to sleep by the gentle poison of caretaking. You choose instead to risk volatility, to trade predictability for presence. Your spouse is not your project. You are not their child. You demand the return of respect, of wild desire, the kind that asks nothing and gives everything. Psychology tells you that true intimacy is rare, not because it's impossible, but because it's terrifying. You want to be terrifying. You want to matter, not for what you provide, but for the storm you stir in their soul. No one can do this for you. The path back to desire is marked by your willingness to disrupt your own sense of self. To be wanted, you must want. To be loved, you must risk not being liked. The roles are shattered. The marriage is alive. For the first time, you both feel the pulse again. You are finally lovers. Liberation is not a moment. It is a muscle you build with repetition. Every day, you wake up and reject the role that was handed down by mothers and fathers and culture. Every night, you refuse the comfort of predictability. You choose tension over peace, risk over safety. You talk to your partner with the voice of a lover, not a teacher, not a coach, not a parent. Each conversation is charged. You ask for what is forbidden. You apologize less and desire more. You marvel at your own courage. You remember how much energy was wasted trying to avoid conflict, how much passion you killed out of fear of discomfort. Now, you let discomfort be your guide. When you feel awkward or exposed, you know that you are alive. You notice how power shifts when no one is controlling, only inviting. You embrace the unknown, holding hands with uncertainty and letting it become your thrill. The past taught you to crave safety as proof of love. You believed management and caregiving preserved marriage. Now you know, they protect nothing but your habit of hiding from each other. Intimacy is risk, not reassurance. You are free, and freedom is magnetic. Your journey is visible now. Friends whisper, ask how you returned the heat. You refuse to share the secret, because there isn't one. Just the courage to break the pattern. You see couples around you, some suffocating, some pretending, some about to shatter from the strain of caretaking. You wonder if they too lie awake, craving eyes that want, not just care. You become a mirror, reflecting possibilities. Your communication is raw, electric. Trust is no longer measured in chores completed or bills paid, but in the space shared between truth and curiosity. Your partner meets your honesty with their own. Sometimes it is wild, sometimes gentle, sometimes terrifying. You accept the volatility, knowing it is the price of passion. Attraction returns in unpredictable waves. The old habits beckon, but you outsmart them. You claim your confidence in the simplest ways, by refusing to play mother, by refusing to be coddled. You are a grown-up, but in love, you are new, untrained, and always hungry. This is your new normal. With every step, you reclaim your body as sacred ground for intimacy, not management. You flirt again, not as a calculated gesture but as an offering. Your partner surprises you, their energy shifts as yours does. You both become players in a new game, less rules, more risks. Marriage transforms from contract to adventure. Communication is shorthand for possibility. The fear is still there, but now it excites you. You reflect on past wounds, the emotional cheating, the longing for escape, the silent threats of divorce. You see how they were symptoms, not failures. You thank the pain for waking you. Now, you understand, adultery of the spirit occurs when you abandon yourself to habit, when you let roles dictate desire. Faithfulness is not just to your spouse, but to your own hunger for life. Science and street philosophy converge, polarity creates charge, charge creates attraction. Roles must be chosen mindfully or destroyed ruthlessly. You choose to destroy the old, every day. Transformation is relentless. You reach a point where the old you would not recognize the new you. Confidence is not arrogance, it is vulnerability, multiplied by truth. Your marriage is a forge, you burn away what does not serve you and keep only what is real. You joke about former roles, the parent, the fixer, the child. You laugh together, remembering how suffocating it was to be so polite. Laughter becomes foreplay, honesty becomes foreplay. Intimacy leaks into daily life, not just the bedroom. You build new habits, spontaneous dates, secret texts, unpredictable invitations. The script is gone, shredded by need and curiosity. You become relentless in your pursuit of newness. Sometimes you fall. Sometimes you hurt each other. But you know now, the only unforgivable sin is resignation. Trust is rebuilt, stone by stone, word by word, touch by touch. You made marriage dangerous again. You made yourself dangerous. You did not settle. This is the revolution. The finale arrives quietly but powerfully. You stand in your home, beside your spouse, not your child, not your parent. Two adults, two forces, two halves of one mystery. You stare into eyes that see you as lover, not caretaker. The room vibrates with the energy you have reclaimed, the confidence you now wear like second skin. The world will push you toward comfort, management, roles. You refuse. Your marriage is not predictable, not sanitized, not safe. It is alive, shaking with possibility. You are not afraid to ask, to touch, to risk. You trust not because you are managed, but because you are given freedom. Understanding is no longer an obligation, it is an invitation. You have torn the old script, forged a new intimacy from the ashes. Your pain became your power. Your confusion became your clarity. Your willingness to risk transformed you, your spouse, your life. The final word is yours. Dare to love, never settle for being managed.